Hi there. Let's shine the spotlight on a very special author and illustrator. This month our program is all about John Burningham. John Burningham is an English author and illustrator. He was born in 1936 and he died in 2019. In over a 6-decade, that's over 60 years, he wrote and illustrated, for the most part, over 60 books. So we're going to be focusing on maybe 5 of them today with some other activities, but let's get started and get you thinking a little bit. Our first book is called Would You Rather? And this book is published by Harper Collins. So let's see what you think. Would you rather your house was surrounded by water, snow, or jungle? Would you rather an elephant drank your bathwater, an eagle stole your dinner, a pig tried on your clothes, or a hippo slept in your bed? What do you think? Would you rather be covered in jam, soaked with water, or pulled through the mud by a dog? I think I'd go with the water. How about you? Would you rather have supper in a castle, breakfast in a balloon, or tea on the river? Would you rather be made to eat spider stew, slug dumplings, mashed worms, or drink snail squash? Not very appetizing. Would you rather jump in the brambles for 25 cents? Swallow a dead frog for 50 cents? Or stay all night in a creepy house for $1? Would you rather be crushed by a snake, swallowed by a fish, eaten by a crocodile, or sat on by a rhinoceros? Would it be worse if your dad danced at school or your mom made a fuss in a cafe? Would you rather clash the cymbals, bang the drum, or blow the trumpet? Would you rather know a monkey you could tickle, a bear you could read to, a cat you could box with, or a dog you could skate with? Maybe a pig you could ride, or a goat you could dance with? Those all sound like fun. Would you rather be chased by a crab, or a bull, or a lion, or by wolves? I think I'd go with a crab. Or would you like to ride a bull into a supermarket? Look out, Wegmans. Would you rather be lost in a fog, at sea, in a desert, in a forest, or in a crowd? Would you rather help a fairy turn a frog into a prince? Help gnomes look for treasure? An imp be naughty? A witch make a stew? Or Santa Claus deliver presents? I think that'd be fun. Would you rather live with a gerbil in a cage, a fish in a bowl, a parrot on a perch, A rabbit in a hutch? With chickens in a coop? Or a dog in a doghouse? Or perhaps you would rather just go to sleep in your own bed. That sounds like a good idea. Well, our first story, because that really wasn't a story, that was just to get you thinking and appreciating John Burningham's illustrations. But our first story is one that he won a prize for. He won the Kate Greenaway Medal for this book. It's called Mr. Gumpys Outing. And it's written and illustrated by John Burningham, and it's published by Henry Holt and Company. And there you can see there's Mr. Gumpy, and he's got a full load in his boat. Mr. Gumpy owned a boat, and his house was by a river. One day, Mr. Gumpy went out in his boat. "May we come with you?" said the children. "Yes," said Mr. Gumpy, "if you don't squabble." Do you know what it means to squabble? It means to fight. "Can I come along, Mr. Gumpy?" said the rabbit. "Yes, but don't hop about." "I'd like a ride," said the cat. "Very well," said Mr. Gumpy, "but you're not to chase the rabbit." "Will you take me with you?" said the dog. "Yes," said Mr. Gumpy, "but don't tease the cat." "May I come, please, Mr. Gumpy?" said the pig. "Very well, but don't muck about." "Have you a place for me?" said the sheep. "Yes, but don't keep bleating." Do you know what that means? Bleating is when the sheep goes, "Bah, bah, bah." "Can we come too?" said the chickens. "Yes, but don't flap," said Mr. Gumpy. "Can you make room for me?" said the calf. "Yes, if you don't trample about." "May I join you, Mr. Gumpy?" said the goat. "Very well, but don't kick." Well, for a little while they all went along happily, but then the goat kicked, the calf trampled, the chickens flapped, the sheep bleated, the pig mucked about, the dog teased the cat chased the rabbit hopped, the children squabbled, the boat tipped, and into the water they fell. Oh my. Then Mr. Gumpy and the goat and the calf and the chickens and the sheep and the pig and the dog and the cat and the rabbit and the children all swam to the bank and climbed out to dry in the hot sun. "We'll walk home across the field," said Mr. Gumpy. "It's time for tea." "Goodbye," said Mr. Gumpy. "Come for a ride another day." And we'll see some more of Mr. Gumpy and all of those animals and the children in our next story. But first, I'm going to ask you if you picked up one of our Take and Make Craft boxes this time. Open it up, and inside you'll find something that looks like this. I started a little bit of a project for you to make it easier, but we're going to make Mr. Gumpy's boat. Now, have your mom or dad take a look at this. You can see that there's an opening on each side, and if they will, and you can help them, pull out gently on those and crease the corner, you can turn this into Mr. Gumpy's boat. And also in your take and make box, you'll find some animal crackers. So just like Mr. Gumpy's boat got filled up with all of those animals plus the children when they went out for their outing, you can put your animals in your boat and snack on those while we have our next story, which is going to actually be on the flannel board. So let me get that set up and I'll be right back. Our flannel board story is based on the book Mr. Gumpy's Motor Car. This is of course written and illustrated by John Burningham, and it is published by Thomas Y. Crowell and Company. Well, Mr. Gumpy was going for a ride in his car. He drove out the gate and down the lane. "May we come too?" said the children. "May we?" said the rabbit, the cat, the dog, the pig, the sheep, the chickens, the calf, and the goat. "All right," said Mr. Gumpy, "but it will be a squash." And they all piled in. Let me pile them in for us. Whoa. "Well, it's a lovely day," said Mr. Gumpy. "Let's take the old cart track across the fields." And for a while, they drove along happily. The sun shone, the engine chugged, and everyone was enjoying the ride. Well, then Mr. Gumpy said, "I don't like the looks of those clouds. I think it's going to rain." Very soon the dark clouds were right overhead, and Mr. Gumpy stopped the car and put up the hood. The hood is what we would call the top for this convertible. And then down came the rain. "Some of you will have to get out and push," said Mr. Gumpy as they came to a hill up ahead. "Well, not me," said the goat. "I'm too old." "Not me," said the calf. "I'm too young." "Not us," said the chickens. "We can't push." "Not me," said the sheep. "I might catch cold." "Not me," said the pig. "I've a bone in my trotter." That's his foot. "Not me," said the dog, "but I'll drive if you like." "Not me," said the cat. "It would ruin my fur." "Not me," said the girl. "He's stronger." "Not me," said the boy. "She's bigger." Well, the wheels churned and the car sank deeper into, the mud. "Now we're really stuck," said Mr. Gumpy. So they all got out and pushed. There are a lot of them. So they pushed and heaved and strained and gasped and slivered and squelched, and slowly, slowly the car began to move. "Don't get stopped," said Mr. Gumpy. "We're almost there. Keep it up." Well, everyone gave a mighty heave. The tires gripped and the car edged its way to the top of the hill. They looked up and they saw the sun was shining again. "We'll drive home across the bridge," said Mr. Gumpy. "There'll be time for a swim." So they all went for a swim, and then they all went home. And Mr. Gumpy said, "Come for a drive another day." I think it would really be fun to hang out with Mr. Gumpy. Maybe he'd take us for a ride in his motor car or in his boat. We're going to do a little traveling, but this time we're going to go way up into the clouds. This book is called Cloudland, and it's published by Crowell Publishers. I wonder what it would feel like to stand on a cloud. I bet it feels very soft under our toes. They had spent the day high up in the mountains. So high were they that they could look at the clouds below them. "It's getting late and the light is fading fast," said Albert's father. "We must hurry down before it gets dark." Then something terrible happened. Albert tripped and fell off a cliff. Albert's mother and father looked everywhere, but they couldn't find him. They were very sad because they loved their little Albert. But Albert was lucky. The children who live in the clouds had seen him falling and said some magic words. They either said, "Fumble grally google ho-hee," or "Teedum raggle barry say nee," or was it "Gargle giggle fiddle num dee"? Albert found himself becoming very light, and then the cloud children caught him. "We'll make you a bed in the clouds, Albert," they said. "You must be tired after your fall." When Albert woke up the next morning, the cloud children had made breakfast. After breakfast, we're all going to climb up those tall clouds and play jumping games, they told him. There's Albert. Albert enjoyed jumping. He wasn't at all afraid because he felt as light as a feather. After the jumping games, they played cloud ball, but the clouds were becoming darker and darker. "Oh, there's going to be a thunderstorm. Let's make as much noise as we can," said the children. Looks like they banged cymbals. They had a tambourine and a drum, and those who didn't have instruments just yelled. Can you yell a little bit? And then it began to rain. "We're going for a swim now, Albert," said the cloud children. Now after the rain came a beautiful rainbow, and they all painted pictures until it was time to go to bed. The next day, there was a strong wind and they were able to have races. They raced each other on little clouds, which was great fun until Albert found he was being left far behind. And Albert was all on his own. The other children were drifting farther and farther away, and suddenly there was a terrific noise and a rush of air, and Albert was nearly knocked off his cloud. Oh my goodness. Do you see what it was? But the plane left a perfect path for Albert, and he was able to walk to the other children. Have you ever seen that up in the sky after a plane goes by? Albert was enjoying his time in the clouds and the games with the children, but one night, as he looked down from his cloud bed, he saw the lights of a city below, and he thought of his mother and father and his own little bed. "I want to go home," he said. He said it so loudly that it reached the ears of the Queen. "Now, what's all this about?" she said. Nobody has ever asked to go home from the clouds before." "I want to be with my mother and father again," said Albert. The Queen felt sorry for Albert, and she thought for a long time. See the lights of the city down below? At last she said, "I have a plan. It will be difficult, but I'll try and make our clouds drift over where you live." So while Albert and the Cloud Children spent their days playing, and Albert slept in his cloud bed each night, the Queen got in touch with the wind. Until one day she said, "Albert, tomorrow we'll be over your home, but first we're going to have a party for you, and I've invited the Man in the Moon." The next evening, the clouds drifted over the city where Albert lived. The Queen and the Cloud Children shook hands with Albert and said goodbye. And then the Queen said the magic words backwards. She said either "Hee-ho, goggle, grally, fumble," or "Nise, barry, waggle, teetum," or was it "Dee, num, fiddle, giggle, gargle"? But whatever she said, it worked. The next thing Albert knew was that he was back in his own little bed, in his own room, and his mother and father were with him. Albert sometimes wishes he could be back playing with the Cloud Children, and he tries to remember the magic words. People hear Albert saying strange things to himself like "Nari blowy beanie hoo," or "Meeky maggy diddle he do," but he can never get it quite right. There goes Albert talking to himself, they say. He always did have his head in the clouds. I thought we could have some cloud fun too, just like Albert did. So take a look in your Take and Make box. And you should have two things left: a laminated picture of Albert and a can of shaving cream. So shake that up. Before you open it up, I would also ask you to go and find a towel of some sort so that when your hands get a little bit messy, which they will, you'll have something to wipe them on. Just keep that right handy. Then take the lid from your Take and Make box, open your shaving cream, and spray some right in there so that you can create your own cloud. So here's my cloud. Just sits right on the lid, doesn't fall off. And I can take Albert and I can have him stand right up in that cloud. And he can go drifting around the house, drifting around your room, drifting around the skies. But that's not the only thing we can do with this cloud. Once Albert has tired and wants to go to bed, you can take him out and set him aside. And then, this is the fun part, you can take your hand and smooth that shaving cream all around the lid. Doesn't that feel fun? Soft and smooth, pretty sticky. It smells pretty good too. All right, and when I've got it all spread, I'm going to take that towel that I have, wipe my fingers off, although I'm going to get them wet again in a second. Just take the excess off. And we're going to do something that's a pre-writing skill. Now that probably doesn't mean much to the kids, but to moms or dads, this can give you some ideas of things that you can do with your child. So you can take your lid and have them draw in it. Have them try drawing the first letter of their name. So my name is Mary, so I'm going to draw an M in my shaving cream. Just like that. And then I can fill it back in. And sometimes less shaving cream is better than a lot. Wipe my finger off again. You can also, if you don't want to use your finger, although it's really fun to get your fingers in there, you could use a closed marker, or you could use the end of a spoon or a knife, or what else could you use? A craft stick. But you could even draw in it. I'm going to see if I can draw. Kind of hard. You have to press right down. So I drew a circle, and I can draw a triangle. You can do all kinds of drawing in there. And when you get tired of it, you can take this over to the sink and just wash it right down. It'll go right down the drain. And you can do it again and again and again. But practice your writing, practice your drawing using your finger or some other utensil. And I'm going to clean that up because we have one more story. Our last one is called The Way to the Zoo. And of course, it's written and illustrated by John Burningham and is published by Candlewick Press. One evening, just before Sylvie went to sleep, she thought she could see a door in the wall of her bedroom. She decided to look again in the morning to see if the door was really there. Well, in the morning, Sylvie was late for school and forgot about the door until bedtime. When Sylvie was ready for bed, she found the door and managed to open it. She could see some steps going down, and beyond them was a passageway. Sylvie found a flashlight and went down the steps and along the passageway for a while, wondering where it would go. In the distance, she could see what seemed to be another door. The door was heavy, but Sylvie used all her strength, and at last it opened. And she found herself in the zoo with lots of animals looking at her. Now it was getting late, and Sylvie had to get back to her room and go to sleep because she had school again in the morning. Sylvie asked a little bear to come back with her. He did, and slept in her bed. She made sure the bear was back in the zoo and the door in the wall was closed before she left for school. Now the next few nights, all the animals wanted to come to Sylvie's room, but she could only take the smaller ones. There she is with a koala. One night, she brought the penguins back, but they made a big mess splashing in the bathroom. Then she came back with a tiger and her cub. The tiger slept in a chair and her cub slept in Sylvie's bed. Another night, Sylvie let the birds come. Sylvie had to ask some animals to go back to the zoo because they stole things or were too smelly to have in her room. The baby elephant burst into tears because it was too big for the passageway. A baby rhino was able to get through the passageway, but Sylvie did not want the rhino in her bed, so she covered it in towels for the night. One morning, Sylvie woke up very late and had to rush to get ready for school. When she came home later that day, she knew something was wrong. There were noises coming from the living room. She had forgotten to close the door in her bedroom wall. And the living room was full of animals. They were watching TV. Sylvie got very upset, and all the animals left. Sylvie's mother would be home soon, so she had very little time to clean up. Sylvie hadn't quite finished when her mother arrived. "Oh, Sylvie, Sylvie," her mother said, "all I have to do is leave you at home when I go out for a while, and it looks like you've had the whole zoo in here." Sylvie sometimes has animals visit at night, perhaps a baby bear or something else small and furry. But she always makes sure that the way to the zoo is closed before she goes to school. The way to the zoo. Well, I hope you've enjoyed getting to know John Burningham through some of his books. You can come to the library and check out some of his others, or maybe go online and read them. But we always enjoy seeing an opportunity to learn a little bit more about our authors and illustrators of fun children's books. It's fun to take a good look at the illustrations. You sometimes see things that may not be in the words, and that's one of the things John Burningham always did, was he made a connection but left lots of room for your imagination to fill in the gaps in his stories. Thanks for joining us, and we'll be back with another Spotlight program next month.